what is the ideal role for Raheem Mostert in the Niners offense? And this is something that Nick tweeted about. So why don't you start us off?
All right. Raheem Mostert. So I've seen a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people suggest that the 49ers should trade Raheem Mostert because he's making $3.6 million, I believe, this upcoming season. He's the 15th highest paid running back in the NFL. I'm a huge fan of Raheem Mostert. He makes the 49ers offense better, but I do think that they should decrease his role a little bit. If you look at his role in 2019, the season that really put Raheem Mostert on the map, in the first couple of games, between weeks 1 through 11, he only had 82 touches when it was right around 7.5 touches per game. And then his workload really increased starting that Ravens game all the way through the Super Bowl where he was getting 14 touches a game. He had 126 touches throughout however many games that was. And then last year, he all of a sudden started touching the ball 15 times and his body didn't hold up well. So I would love to see Raheem Mostert continue to be the 49ers top running back, their starting running back, but just because he's the starting running back doesn't mean that he has to get the most touches on the team week in and week out. He was still very efficient weeks 1 through 11 of the 2019 regular season. He had like 4 games where he went over 40 yards out of the first 7 games of the year, and he is the fastest football player in the NFL. They chip all these guys now. He is the undisputed fastest player in the NFL. He can take the ball the distance whenever he has the opportunity to, and that is such a valuable asset to have on offense that I have no problem keeping Raheem Mostert because of his big playability. Even though he may seem a little overpaid, just what he can do on offense and just take the top off of a defense and give them all this to worry about is worth it. But you got to decrease his role.
Okay, who's next?
I'll go. So, I'm the biggest proponent for the running back squad. I said that we needed to draft somebody in the top 3 round picks, wrote articles on it on for Sports Illustrated and so on and so forth. And they went ahead and got Trey Sermon. And Sermon, I think, needs to come in and play that Tevin Coleman role that was there in 2019. Because if we remember what the rotation was in 2019, we had Coleman, Breida, and Mostert. And those three-headed monster is why that running game was the second rated running game in the whole league. And I think that having that player like Coleman that could take a brunt of the first down, second down, first quarter, second quarter when the defenses are fresh and take those hits is what gave Breida and Mostert the ability to hit those home runs and have those big play abilities. And I think that's the way that we need to be utilizing Raheem Mostert, is not as the every down back, but as that person that could come in and just have like 10 touches and still have like 2 touchdowns and all of them were over 30-yard gains, so on and so forth. And really just force feed Gallman and Sermon, and then just have that big playability with Mostert. Because the unfortunate part is Mostert is amazing as long as he can stay healthy. Problem is he's really small for a running back. He can't take all that added, all those added hits. And if he's injured, his number one thing is speed. He can't be that elusive running back that makes him the star that he's potentially could be. So I think, just like Nick said, reduce, but I don't even want to see him as a starter. I want to see him just getting very few touches, but in those opportune moments that could have him be that home run player that just needs a few touches and still is very productive receiver. Very productive running back. I know it's going to suck for people that draft him in fantasy, but I think that's the role he needs to play.
I totally agree with Nick and Suneil on this. Basically, I think last year we were desperate. Kyle was desperate because the quarterbacks were going down, they were injured, so he needed other players to step up. So he started using Raheem more, but it backfired. But I think this year, until we go into the business end, meaning into the playoffs, we should really use Raheem Mostert with the caution. So if we are in the playoff, then we can use like the championship game against the Green Bay. That's the only time we should use it. Basically, preserve him for the most important moments in the game. Other than that, just use what the Rock, Sermon, Elijah Mitchell, Goldman, anyone that you think. Because one thing we know of is that 49ers have a very good running back coach. So we have a good scheme. So whatever the player that going to put in that field can perform compared to other things. So we should preserve Mostert as much as possible.
You guys make good points, but I'm going to go ahead and disagree with all three of you. I think you guys are being a little too cautious with Raheem Mostert. I mean, look, he's not that small. I will compare him to Chris Johnson. All right, Chris Johnson, when we were younger, had a lot of good years. He was 5'11", 195. Raheem Mostert is 5'10", 195. I think they have a lot in common. Chris Johnson started 111 games in the NFL, had 2,163 carries, right? Mostert has started 8 games in his career and ran the ball 282 times. What are you saving him for? He's 29 years old. You got to use him now. And the thing about him is, yeah, you want to lower his workload for sure. But he's still the best running back on the team. I like Trey Sermon. He's better than Trey Sermon. They didn't get Trey Sermon to replace Raheem Mostert. They got Trey Sermon to replace Tevin Coleman. And Raheem Mostert always was better than Tevin Coleman. So you want to play your best players. You want to start Raheem Mostert. You don't want to give him 17 carries a game. You probably don't even want to give him 15. But starting with 13 carries a game, anything less than that, I think you're wasting him. He's 29 years old, man. Put him out there.
Yeah, but you picked – so Chris was a really great running back, but you talked about when he came into the league as a rookie. After he signed his big contract, he wasn't that guy anymore. And Raheem Mostert might not have had a lot of starts as a running back, but what was he doing in the league all of those years? He was on special teams.
Special teams.
And
Chris Johnson carried the ball like 800 times before he slowed down. I mean, he got worn down. He got overused. He had a season where he ran the ball 358 times. No one's saying that they're going to use.
You're comparing a 22, 23-year-old to a 29-year-old. That's already come off of a whole year of being injured. He just was injured all last season, Grant. What are we watching?
Wow. He wasn't injured all last season, and he also averaged 5 yards a carry last year. He missed 8 games last year, but so did George Kittle. No one's wringing their hands, clutching their pearls about George Kittle, who's the same age, a year younger. I mean, the guy averages 5.6 yards per carry for his career. Yeah. I'm not saying you don't give him 6 carries a game. You don't give him 9 carries a game. He's your best running back by far. If Trey Sermon is a good replacement of Tevin Coleman, great. Now you got a two-headed monster, but you guys are being way too cautious on Raheem Mostert, man.
Well, this is what I'd say is giving Raheem Mostert 9 touches a game is a lot different than giving a guy like Ezekiel Elliott or someone 9 touches a game. His 9 touches at 5 yards a carry and being able to take the ball 20-plus yards anytime he touches it, he's a lot more efficient in a limited number of touches than him getting the ball 15 times. Like, take the Rams game last year, the home game against the Rams, Sunday Night Football. He touched the ball 17 times, and I think his 17th carry came early in the third quarter, and he got hurt because he was getting the ball too much. And I think he had an injury, like he missed, what was it, the Giants game? Because he played that Jets game where he had the 80-yard touchdown run. So he missed the Giants game and the Eagles game, and then he came back a couple weeks later and re-aggravated his injury. But I think that's too much. I think the window between 10 to 12 carries a game is realistic. It's just as far as longevity goes, because now it's a 17-game regular season. You have the postseason. You got to keep Raheem Mostert fresh.
Should the Niners bring George Kittle off the bench because he missed 8 games last year? Should the Niners have Nick Bosa come off the bench because he missed 15 games last year? At a certain point, you got to let these dudes play, no?
But yes, and this is my counterpoint to that, is that Raheem Mostert is at his best, or was at his best, when he was in that limited role. And ever since his roles kind of changed, he wasn't able to duplicate the success that he had in 2019 last season, being that every down player, whereas George Kittle, he is an established every down player. He averaged 5
yards a carry last year. He just got hurt. I mean, you could say that he did.
Yeah.
He could say he did. He just got hurt the way Kittle did.
Okay. But it's not performance-based. Of course, the performance is lined up, his averages and everything, to what it was in 2019. but he needs to be on the field. And I get what you're saying with the Kittle. It's a good
I think
comparison.
we're arguing over like
but-
two carries a game. We're just getting worked up. I think we're basically
Yeah.
saying 13 and you guys are saying 11 and we're like, no, So hold on. I think
That's
we
a good
can
way
wrap
to put
this
it.
up and move on to the last one.
All
Frederick
right,
saying
let's-
your bottle of wine for Trey starting to pick up steam. I'm trying to speak it into existence, man. So I want that bottle of wine, and I'm betting on Trey starting week 1. Nick says, will Sermon get 1,000 yards and or 10 TDs? I think it's going to be a real court running back committee. So I wouldn't necessarily be banking on big numbers or fantasy stats from all these guys.